I
Sorry, I
I
just
couldn't
remembered.
I couldn't, I couldn't. What I see is what's in front of me, but we were laughing and playing, and it was just a really nice memory. So I shared it with her, and but it has happened to like probably a dozen people that I've met through Joshua, actually.
Hmm.
So something either happened in the past or is going to happen. A couple of them are like precognitive, but so Jessica really liked it. But I shared it with people because I've only been around Jessica in person once, and but she's worked with me on the limiting beliefs, and she's really good. And she said, "Oh, I just needed that today." So that was her
Oh,
response.
oh,
Like
really?
it's like a I get a loving message, but I feel the emotions of Jessica, and it's like I'm someone else who's there with Jessica playing and laughing, and I'm sure she has great memories of Germany. So
Right.
it was really nice.
Oh, neat. What about Melinda? How are you?
Hi,
Let me
I'm
hear your
great.
new inspired idea. I'm all about like taking action. And when I got your text today, I was like, or was it an email?
It was an email. Yeah,
Email.
yeah.
I get so excited because I'm doing this. I did the vision boards, and I was teach the
hmm
kids that. And it's
hmm
like, when you get people that have these dreams, like you can talk about it but you're like, it made me feel like you didn't push past the fear. Cause I mean, I'm sure you did, but even like, you just do it and then just watch how the magic unfolds. Right.
Right. Actually, the kind of opposite thing happened for me. I was visiting with Christine. I went to Texas last week, and we had such a great time. And I kind of realized that I had this latent fear that I just didn't really know that I even had. And it came up, and then I realized it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I can process that. And I just moved through it really quick in my head. And I got some insight to start living every moment of every day in love. And at first time I
Oh,
heard that, I was like, that's crazy. I can't do that. Uh, it's day 3 and it's going pretty well. I've been like anchoring in to my heart, and it's much easier than I realized. And my brain was like, it's easy because you're already doing it. It was just like I had to lift the veil a little bit to access the true love that was going on. So that was it's really exciting. So
what inspired that, Christine?
Christine, yeah, in our conversations
Because you
for
weren't,
sure.
because what things, fear was creeping up too much or what? Why?
Yeah, yes, actually, most of the time I'm really, in alignment, and things are going really well for me. But right before I went to visit her, I had this kind of big wobble, and I kind of fell out of alignment, and I was like, ah! So by the time I got there, we just kept talking through it and through it and through it. And then some insight from my guides came through, and I was like, okay, okay. So yeah, that's kind of a big pivot for me to be in. And I made a recording of it, this conversation with myself earlier today, and I was like, it sounds ridiculous to be like, if your vibration is nowhere near this conversation, it sounds ridiculous to be like, oh, I'm living from love in my heart. But if your vibration is kind of around the area, it can kind of track for you. And that's what was happening with me. Was I was vibrating around it, and then I just locked in, and I was like, oh. So yeah, kind of a esoteric conversation, but it really clicked into place for me. So that was exciting.
Tell me the vibration. Like, what do you do now to keep your vibration up there?
Well, I've been kind of working on this meditation, where I go to kind of like my big thinking place. And in my big thinking place, which is just in my imagination, I imaginary kind of put logs on my fire, my internal fire, because I want to be as bright as possible. And I realized today that when I'm putting logs on my fire to brighten myself up, it actually slows me down and helps me to be in alignment. So that was a huge moment for me today. It's just like, oh, put a log on the fire, calm down. Put a log on the fire, calm down. So it's all of these things are starting to string together, and it's really exciting.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Who else wants to share? Jessica, what's going on with you?
Gosh. Well, family, kids, just living life. This is a big month for me, actually. I signed up for a bunch of different types of like group healing, energy healing. I'm signing up for my third Reiki class, which starts on February 2nd. But gosh, what do I have? Like 4 or 5 different things to do this month. One's tonight at 10. Actually, yeah. So one's tonight at 10, just this group thing out in California. And then again on the 11th is another one in California. It's like a 11 o'clock one. And then I have like 2 classes later in the month that are like 4 hours, 5 hours long, something like that. So just a lot of different kind of things I've been dabbling into. And
like, is this your year of like growth or what? Like,
I feel like it is. I feel like it is, because when I started this journey, it's like I kind of was trying to find my way, find which ones that I liked, which ones I was drawn to. And just there's so much information. So I feel like the past 2 years is just like overloaded with information. Now I feel like I found my avenues that I enjoy, not to a stop. I feel like there's other things that I like, and I'm going to eventually fall into place with that. But I feel like doors opening for classes and things like that, and finally finding which things seem to be in alignment with me. Because before I kept being blocked, what seemed to be like blocks for a lot of different things. Like I always kept missing deadlines for the courses, or not paying in time, or just different things. It just kept on not being able to take the classes or the courses. And I felt like, well, maybe I need to explore more things. So then finally, just all of a sudden the floodgates open. And I thought to myself that this is the year I think is a lot of learning, finally, hands-on learning. Because before it was kind of like just navigation, finding my way, finding what was interest of me. And now I feel like I found some places, and then all these doors opened, all these courses, classes, people finally came into my awareness. And so that's what I'm going to be working on.
wow,
A lot of stuff like that.
fun. I can't wait to hear all that stuff.
Yeah.
Exciting. Erin, what about you? My rabbit hole friend.
Yes, other than doing that, I
We probably
know.
don't have time after I send you.
I love it. It's wonderful. Everything's been interconnecting and so clear.
If anybody
This year-
wants my text message, by the way, because I send my rabbit holes, please text me and I will send you my rabbit holes. And that's what Erin and I are talking about, because I'll find somebody and I'll be like, oh my gosh. And she'll send me back, is this another rabbit hole? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I think so. I'm so sorry.
I'm always on board
It's-
with rabbit holes.
So you'll be on my train.
It's been wonderful. Like just the past couple of weeks, it's been mind blowing. This year is just the year to remember. That's all I'm focused on, is remembering, and remembering in the deepest part of me. So, and you kind of are like helping me. So that's all. I'm just taking classes, light language, things like that, whatever comes my way.
Yeah. And so light language, I know there's maybe half of us or maybe all of us know the light language, but Erin, will you explain a little bit of that and how you discovered that? Because that's our new thing. In fact, the local San Diego people, I guess, well, it's just Kate and I now, did a class on that Cali activation. So I've only done one. We're going to do one in a couple weeks, but, and Lisa did it too. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
So I was introduced to light language back in 2020. One of my friends, who was in Joshua's group, Matilda, always did it. And it was something that caught my eye, and then here and there, little bits and pieces. But I went to the retreat at Joshua for the fall, and we did activations, and it was pulled through me. Tammy was there; she helped, and I spoke dragon, and I think I sang fairy, but I'm not quite sure. So that started the ball rolling, and then I came home. That was October. I came home, and like it just was flowing. I don't know what I was even talking about or whatever. It's the language of your soul. And Chris Morrison, who you met, he gave me the name of Deb Clark, and I called her, I reached out to her and did a light language activation with her. And just now I'm enrolled in activating people, learning more about it. It's just really so cool and just amazing and just lights me up. So, and Christy's doing activations through Joshua's group. And so I'm going into the second round this time again. So it's really just so cool.
But when you say like you start talking dragon and fairies, you know?
Yeah, when I did the activation with Deb, I have 10 light languages that are mine. And then I can channel light language. There's like Palladians, there's fairies, there's dragons, there's Lyrian. There's so many different ones. I think there's 25 that I know of. But yeah, it's really fascinating, interesting. And if you there was a let's see, if you do light language, I don't know what like. I don't know what I'm channeling right away. I do know fairies because they're very high, and funny and flirty and la 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 la, you know. But I'm remembering it's with this class that I'm taking that's a year long. I'm remembering what the light languages is, and I'll be helping people activate their own.
So
it's fascinating.
So when you say activate, it
Because we
activate.
all have it. We all have light language. It's our soul language. And it's the truest language because like if you think about when we speak English or French or whatever, it gets translated, like it's lost in translation, right? I mean,
Right.
even Latin to all kinds of, whereas light language is Christy explained it on a call today. Like when I speak it, it comes from my stomach and it's like my heart speaks it. It just flows out. Whereas when you're talking, and if you think about it when you're talking, it feels like it's in cerebral, it's coming through your head. Whereas light language is just from here up to here and it comes out through your heart. And if I meditate and if I have a question and I do whatever, if mostly I'm sitting outside a lot of times, so it'll just flow. And if I ask a question and I do light language, I get more clarity to what my question is. I don't know. So it's really, yeah, I'm curious about yours. How was yours?
Yeah, it was interesting. Kate, why don't you share your experience at that?
Yeah. When I was listening to you, the question that came to my head is like, I always go back to, okay, how does that help my human self right now? Like, I want all this stuff to help my humanness, like navigate this life that I'm like this reality that I'm in. Right. So, but then I think you circled back around at the end and you said that it helps give you clarity to the questions that you're asking. It was interesting when I did that, Kali activation, and I'm not exactly sure what that stands for. Kundalini activation light integration or something like that. I think that's what that stands for. Not positive though. But since I'm not a clairvoyant kind of person, like for me, it was mainly about hearing and
feeling. And for me, that activation was more about it trying to take me out of alignment, and how fast my awareness really could come back and see that like my inner self is so powerful that anything that's going on externally around me has no, like, doesn't even like mess with your inner self. And as that was going on, then you have all the intuition and these things that just come to you. Like I think I explained to you and Amy that like the one vision that I had was like standing on this top of this mountain and this basically hurricane hitting me. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, that's not much. It was just like coming into this awareness, like how powerful we actually are, that this like chaos that's going on in our external, like our human life, really doesn't really need to ruffle us that much if we stay, as you said, in alignment and, have the knowing, and, you're getting the clear messaging of what you're truly here to do and be. So,
Right. I love
yeah.
that. What about you, Lisa? Can you, like, since you were there, what was that experience?
Let's see. I just felt, I guess for me, it's just more with the feeling. And like when she came and touched my head, literally, I thought it felt like I was looking through a VR, and then I could just see like letters kept on, like a digital letters that was popping up. So I was like, oh, okay.
Huh.
And then my root chakra, I just felt a lot of vibration. It kept on vibrating. So I was like, oh, okay. But then overall, like without, I guess in a sense, just feeling, I just felt well, because I did cry, but then I don't know what was the reasoning behind it. But then yet I just felt so much love.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, I loved it. I'm going to ask Susan, since we're going to bring on Ulrika soon. Will you tell me your experience with your galactic astrology reading with her before?
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah. I mean, I've never had anything like that before. And so it brought a lot of clarity, I think, of, when my wheels spin here. And I think a lot of it made me understand why my wheels spin here, and then what the journey is to overcome. Like, you're repeating something you've done before, and now it's time to push through that, which just gives you confidence,
I love that. What about it,
She's
Jordan?
a really good intuitive, and she's a Akashic record reader.
Yeah, she's amazing. You're going to love her. Jordan did a session with her too, as well as doing the class. Can you share as the kids there?
Oh yeah, I can some. It was a while ago, so I'm having a hard time remembering the details. But one thing that stood out is that it's my first time incarnating on Earth, which was really crazy to me. So it answers why I feel like I'm like not fitting in a lot of the time. Like it's just things are different. And I'm like, yeah, it made a lot of sense from when I was a kid and everything. I'm trying to think about what else. It was
You can
really,
even talk
really
about
cool.
what you've learned. Like, what does she do in your sessions with, when you do your classes with her? What have you been working on?
Well, really, she customizes it totally for who she's working with. It's like true coaching, where it's not canned. It's not like she's like, do these 5 questions this day and the 5 next time or whatever. It's I tell her what my intuition, like she asks some prompting things to get me to say, well, what does my inner self want to work on this from this session to next? So it's really cool. I guess one of them I did some inner child work. Some others, it's been a while now. I have one more next week. So,
oh, you do?
Yeah. And she also does Reiki energy healing. So you can do that together. It's really neat. But, so like some guided meditations to, I guess, work on limiting beliefs. It's a different way of working on limiting beliefs than we do with like Joshua, where it's like you go back and you find out, like you give it a name, like whatever these things are that kept you safe when you were young. And then you love whatever, like mine is silly. For some reason, I said Eugene was the name of mine. I don't know where that came from. But so then you talk about how, yes, Eugene kept you safe while you were there, and got you through all these things, but you don't need that anymore. And now you have to name your new whatever it is, and mine is Sparkles.
Oh, cute.
And so when you're going down into the thinking like Eugene, then you just take it and you turn it around and you're like, no, Sparkles is here. How would Sparkles do this? And just look at it a different way. So that was fun. And you can laugh about it.
Right. Oh, cute. I
Um,
interviewed this woman today. Her name is Betty. Buddha Betty is her handle on Instagram. She's really great. But she talks about shadow work, and that reminded me of that, where she is a recovering addict, drugs, and her story. If you want to listen to it before it comes on the podcast, go on my YouTube channel. I just posted it. And she intrigued me by her story and really like where she is now. Like she's, we talk, like Kate talks about her awakening. We talk, all these awakenings like that everyone's having with Aaron. It's like all of a sudden this woman had this like huge awakening, and she's 40 years old. But what she does with her addiction, which just reminded me when Jordan was speaking, is we all have heard shadow work. Well, she puts her addiction, she names it. It's called Richard, which is funny because that's my husband's name. And she puts it in a glass box, and she dresses him in white linen, and he's gay. And she talks to him because she's drawn to like the bar calling her, right? She's like, Richard, we're not going there. But she does that with all of her. She'll name and create a room and dress that person and create that and have these conversations. And it was so neat to hear that, because, you have these, things that keep repeating and repeating. And once you can like name it and put it somewhere and have a conversation, have a relationship with it, because she's like, he'll always be there. But now I have this visual and I can communicate. And I don't know, it's really cool. That was a really fun interview. If you can't be patient for 4 more weeks, I know Kate waits, but well, who's here? Our guest speaker. Do you want to come on?
Hello, everyone. Hi.
We're all waiting to meet you. I'm going to put you on my speaker so I can see you. How are you?
Yeah. Can everyone hear me fine? And I just want to
Yeah.
make sure I have the right microphone on.
Yes, we were talking about, well, Jordan was talking, Susan was talking, Kate was talking. Those are 3 that know you from a session, or Jordan knows you from coaching, about their experience with you. I shared, you've been on my podcast, and I shared that there's a link on my YouTube channel of my galactic reading. But when I reached out to you, a couple weeks ago, Jordan was like, oh, she would be the greatest. I said, you're right. That would be so fun. And it's kind of like the sky's the limit. Like she asked what I wanted her to say, and I said, I want you to, you bring it, you bring your magic. So we're all very interested, we're excited, and the stage is yours for whatever you want to do. So introduce yourself so people kind of, get to know you. We can probably all put
Thank
ourselves
you.
on mute.
Yes, thank you so much, Ashley, for inviting me to this beautiful group of women. Hi, Jordan. Hi, Kate. And yeah, so I'm very honored to spend some time with you today. And of course, I don't want to just talk about myself, but I will be introducing myself. I would love to hear your questions, because that's what really gets the energy going. And just a couple of things about myself first. I I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach, and that's my main business, if you will. But I'm also an astrologer, and a little more than a year ago, I got into galactic astrology as well. So I've been studying and using astrology and other energy systems in my work together with clients for quite a while, because there is such a gold mine of information about somebody's soul essence and energetic imprint that we already can find out a lot of information about just by looking at a birth chart or a galactic chart. So often that jumpstarts the awareness from not only for me as a coach about a client, but also for the individual themselves, because I weave this into the work we do together when we partner and walk this path of change in our lives together. And so I use that in my work a lot. And I think prior to me becoming this, stepping into my life's work, I spent 20 plus years in the corporate world. I'm a scientist. I'm a chemical engineer to begin with, but I have walked a corporate path for very long time. And of course, there was a reason for that, so that I can have a complete shift into what my life's work is. And it's not that I have put my past career behind me. It's I'm using it every day. And not only in understanding others in terms of where they're coming from, because very many are making major shifts in their lives at this time. And so I'm kind of having this experience in my backpack that I can tap into, and so rich. But now, as a coach, I can also bridge that desire for change and support and walk with others in that way. And yeah, I know you're curious about galactic astrology, and I can't wait to kind of just hear your questions about it, because that usually is just taking us into the way we are interacting with this as a group. It provides a starting point. But I think the one thing I just want to say about galactic astrology, and like, why would this benefit somebody? Because that's the biggest question. Like, what's the reason somebody would be even, benefit from information like that? So in a couple of sentences, the power of knowing that you are something much, much bigger than you think you are is knowledge that is mind-blowing. Because and when we can track it into our past lives, and both from past lives on Earth, but also in other star systems, we can start to relate to ourselves in a completely new way as a soul that have had a journey over eons of time, and have had experiences that we either are still working on to resolve in this life, or we are here to experience new things. And once we start to relate ourselves in this way, in our multidimensional way, as I call it, our bigger self, our current life here and now becomes somewhat from a different perspective. So that's the opportunity to view our life here and now, because our soul is here, and we are having this experience here in the human form. Some of us have also parallel lives. Some of us have multiple ways of experiencing ourselves, not only as a human, but in other ways at the same time. But once we start to open up that door, like, what is there more? Is there something more for me? Am I something bigger than, going up in the morning, going to work, kids, work, like everything, friends, family? that's all wonderful. It's part of the human experience, but there's so many questions we usually put into our everyday, like why this and why am I so resistant to meet this person, or why do I feel worried, for example. There's often a reason for that, and it might not be from this life. So anyway, as you can tell, I can talk for ages about this, right? But I'm curious about what your questions are, because that's going to lead us into a beautiful conversation. I have that feeling.
I just want to
yeah.
say something before we start. I can tell it was in August that we did our interview. My questions now, and I'm going to say this to Aaron and George, the people that I'm really close to every single day. My questions now in that interview would have been so different. Isn't that I just hear you talking, I hear you're speaking to me differently. And I know it's because of my growth and where I am now as a soul. But isn't that cool? I'm just listening going, oh my gosh, I would have asked her this. I would have asked her this. So anyway, that's cool. I love it. Yes. So people, ask away. Who wants to start? Anything and everything. And it's so fascinating.
I can start.
Jessica, it's all
Yeah.
you.
Just basically, I've never heard of that type of astrology before. So in essence, what is it as far as what's the difference between that and regular astrology? And is it something you came up with or something you studied from somebody else? Just kind of more about that part right there.
Yes. Thank you for that question. I probably should have, started there, but so our birth chart, many of you may be, familiar with your birth chart. That is giving us our solar system here in the Milky Way galaxy. It's our personal, like the planets that are circulating around the sun, including Earth. And often we go as far out as Pluto. If you're familiar with the dwarf planet Pluto, that was that's often what we include in traditional Western tropical astrology. Now, what galactic astrology is, the way I practice, is taught by Julia Balaz. She is also she is an astrologer, but she's also some of you may have heard of past life regression, or QHHT, which was it's a practice and modality that was developed by Dolores Cannon. But she combined pretty much these two things, the intuitive work, but also astrology. So what we do, we base in this practice, I usually say I put an outer layer of galactic points, celestial bodies, and fixed stars to the traditional astrology wheel. And that provides a look out beyond our solar system. And the reason for that is that when Julia first, worked with past life regression, I call it that because there's many modalities that apply the same, way of regressing people. She started to notice that were a lot of people referring to galactic lives in their regressions, and she as an astrologer, she went back to their birth chart and was starting to find a pattern between alignments to fixed stars, for example, and various stories that came out in their past life regression. So I usually say that galactic astrology is not, you can't get the full story just by looking at a chart. You have to work with the chart intuitively as well. And that's the beauty of this practice, because I could combine the intuitive bits with my desire my love for astrology. And it includes such a far beyond perspective than what traditional astrology does. So I hope that helps.
Yes, I definitely need to reach out to you and get a reading.
Yeah, it's amazing. You can watch mine on YouTube just so you kind of get an idea of what it's like. Who's next? I think it would be interesting because Jordan, she had, before you came on, one of her big takeaways was she learned that this was her first time on Earth. Can you elaborate on that? Like how people, like our souls are, where our souls migrate to or where they're coming from and why we choose to come to Earth and why we
Yeah.
don't and why we wait for so long. I know it's all time, everything's happening now, but.
Yeah, I love this question, and thank you, Jordan, for being the example we can talk about here when it comes to lifetimes on Earth. And as humans, we tend to believe that Earth is the center of attention in the universe, and in a way it is, but it's very easy because now we're incarnated here to feel that Earth is like where everything happens. However, many souls have had lifetimes not on Earth but elsewhere in many lifetimes, eons of lifetimes elsewhere. And I think we're just about to build a body of knowledge of Earth's role in the universe. At least that's how I'm feeling. Like we're stepping into an age where we're gonna learn more about other ways of living beyond Earth, because so far it's very easy to believe for us that like here this is how we live and that's it, but it's not. And since Earth is essential for I think I'm going to back up a little bit. I think there are many theories what the role of Earth is. I have my own theories, but as we know, there's not one answer to all of this, right? So in Jordan's example, for example, she is here for the first time. However, she's had eons of lifetimes elsewhere, and which makes her a newbie on Earth. But her reason for being here is to bring a wealth of mastery from other lifetimes elsewhere, because it's needed right here, right now. So, and many of us who are interested in this may discover that, we might be here for like a handful of times or very few times. And you may have heard the term starseed, and often it has been labeled as if you have, if you're a newbie to Earth, you are called a starseed. I personally feel that as humans, we want to put labels on on everything, right? So it's just a way of describing some sort of uniqueness about a soul, but nobody is unique, really. Everybody is unique. So we all have a reason for being here. And it's not a good thing to be here like thousands of times. So it's not a good thing to be here for the first time. It just is, because it's perfect, right? It's just the way it's supposed to be. So for Jordan, in Jordan's case, she's here for the first time. And for, let's say, somebody else who've been here 3,000 times in different incarnations, physical or non-physical, it's the perfect time as well. Because again, humans, we want to put everything in a little box and make a judgment about it. And we want to say it's good, or this is not good and this is good. But yeah. So what I want to say about lifetimes on Earth, there's always a reason for being here for the first time or being here for the 3,000th time. And it's not good or it's not bad. It's just is, because it's perfect for this lifetime. And often I would also say that we're incarnating in soul groups. So people we feel that we have known just by meeting them the first time, there's a reason for that. Because we energetically know each other already, even if we, as a human, might need to get to know each other in the human way, so to say. So Yeah. Does that help in terms of talking about lifetimes and
Yeah, it helps me. Anybody else have a question? Because I do, if you don't.
I have one. I
Oh, good.
listened to Lee Harris's energy update the other day, and he was talking about May being a really big time for kind of galactic awareness. It sounded like to me that more was coming through in the May time, and I was just wondering if you have any information on what's going to happen or what those shifts are, or I don't know. What do you think?
well, there's a lot going on in 2024 energetically. Of course, if you have a question about a certain date or so, I can always look into that. But I think in my experience is that there, as Lee said in his video, there's a lot of us that are waiting for this big thing happening. But there is a sequence of events that are natural to this progression that we are here to make, to increase our vibration and energy on Earth. And again, I feel, just to add to Lee's, many of you may not have seen that interview, but what he basically said was that there's a sequence of events instead of like a big thing happening, but it's all natural. It's all supposed to happen, right? And often as humans, we want to look for the big thing that's going to change everything. The biggest change is happening within ourselves, not in the external world. And that's the most important part to observe. I think that's also what he mentioned in that interview, in case it's the same one we have watched. I just watched it actually today.
That's funny.
But it's very human to look for the outside, on the outside, for something that changes us. It's actually us that is picking up a change. Either we're on that boat, our soul is on that boat, or our soul is not. So we can't miss it. But to address the month of May, I feel that there's a lot of energy shifts into a lot more faster energy in May, with the eclipses in April and May. That's a kind of a starting point for things speeding up energetically. What that means in the physical world is yet to be seen by anyone. Predictions is not really what astrology does to more than from an energetic standpoint. So how that takes form in physical, it's individual for everyone. So it's hard to say like this is going to happen or this is going to happen. It's more what is the energy that we're naturally moving into. And what I see is, in many astrologers with me, is that there's going to be a lot more air and fire energy, which we can think of like what happens if we have a fire and blow air into it. It speeds up, right? Lots of earth and water has been taking place the past 2-3 years. And it's easy to kind of feel the difference there in terms of the energy. Does that help, Susan? Hi, Susan.
Who's next? Anybody?
But of course, if you want a
Holly.
detailed kind of picture of May, I could, detail that out by looking at a chart. And
Yeah, thank you.
Holly's next. Go ahead, Holly.
Okay, I'm still trying to wrap my head around all this. And you mentioned that going through this experience with you, for example, would help us better relate to ourselves, learning about like some of our past experiences. And I'm really curious to know, like, for example, people that you've worked with, like a story of like somebody came to you and they learned this thing, and then what did they do with that information, and how did that change them, or how did that help them grow? Like what did they do?
Yeah.
Or how did they
Kate wants
change the way they work?
Kate's changed.
I can chime in
She
right
can be
away.
her
Yeah.
testimony.
Yeah.
I was just like, what?
Go ahead, Kate.
Kate's had her reading. Firsthand testimony.
I know. I would have to say that my reading with her really kind of gave me a bigger awareness of myself, and B, like a big warm blanket of comfort. Because kind of what happened with me, and I'll just say it really fast, is this was a few years ago when I was starting to just like mess around and connect with something. I didn't know what it was. But one of the messages that came through said to me, would you be scared if you knew you were talking to yourself? And I'm just like, no, but it was just so weird. I'm just like going, why would that come through? It's just like, are you kidding me? That was 3 years ago. My session with Ulrika, she goes, I don't really know how to tell you this, but you're living this parallel life, and you actually can communicate. And I didn't tell her about this about me at all. She goes, you can actually communicate with your higher self that's living on like a 7th dimensional plane. And that person wants to give you this information that you're here to, communicate with this realm here that you're currently living in. But she said it's going on at the same time. So it really kind of like it kind of blows your mind for a second. But then when you start integrating it, and when you start putting your puzzle pieces together, like, okay, I'm kind of getting this now. I'm getting how these things are supposed to start flowing and how I'm supposed to be. So it is a very, when you're kind of going through this awakening, and you're just kind of like Jessica was saying, like, I'm doing this and I'm trying to find this, and like what's kind of resonating with you. And then I think that our frequency here on Earth is just getting bigger, so we need to see more, and that's what she brings to the table for you. So
In case
Beautiful.
you're
Thank
not
you, Kate.
living a parallel life, I can tell you, for me, like there was something she brought through where one of my missions in a faraway land was to come and kind of bring people online there, but they weren't ready, and it kind of shut me down. And so here I have been wanting to bring forward messages, but really tripping over myself left, right, and center. And so that was really helpful to know that I'm here to work through that and to push through it. And it kind of gave me motivation. But she also let me know that I have had times before where I make it so much my mission that it's like 100% focus, and I need to dial it back. Like I have to find the divine feminine and kind of rest in the energy as well. And so it was really a balance of pushing me forward and allowing me to rest at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, often
Thank you
it's
for sharing.
validation and reassurance, because again, I often remind in every reading that our soul really knows our full soul history. It's just that in human form, we don't really connect all of the parts, because we don't, as Kate said, we don't see our full self in the human form. But once we start to connect the dots and soul memories come up, it validates an inner knowing that we always have had, right? And that's very reassuring. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Kate, for that.
And
Aw.
Jessica's ready for another question. Her hand is up.
Well, I forget who, somebody said something, but that kind of triggered a thought that I had a question. So basically in the reading, does that help indicate what somebody's current purpose would be in this life right now, in addition to kind of what they did in other lives? Is that how that works for the readings?
So we look into often the soul contract of this life. as well for those who wants to talk more about their soul contract. And in the soul contract, there are clues to the purpose. Now, again, as humans, we often want to know, like, what is it? What is my purpose? So that I know. The thing is that your purpose is going to come from the inside, and it can take multiple ways of form in physical form. But once you know that you are living your purpose, or that you are in a role that your purpose is fulfilled, or that you feel fulfilled, that you can't miss that feeling. And that's what really is your purpose. When you're fulfilled in life, when you are like, you can't miss it on the inside. So again, we cannot look for our purpose on the out in the external world. It's an inner fulfillment, and we know when we are on purpose. But yes, to answer your question, an astrology reading can definitely look into and describe what environment, what energy, how your energy works to be on purpose. Yes. And then you can assess how far are you from being aligned to that. And often we know, we need to just get those reminders so that our soul remembers, and we can make those decisions to take ourselves in the right direction towards our purpose and mission here.
When the one other, I forget, I'm sorry, I apologize that I don't remember your name, but the other one woman mentioned about, with Lee Harris mentioning something that happened in May, or an energy in May, it got me thinking about astrologers not only doing other people's birthdays, but they also do events, birthdays, or for instance, America's birthday. People are looking up America because they think that like these big things are happening in 24, 25, 26, and years in 27, all the way, I even think, to 2030. But they've been looking up when America was established, or country. And have you ever personally done that for yourself? Like, just one day looked up America to see where we're at as a country, where we're going with all this energy happening, going into Aquarius, like just all this kind of change happening. Have you ever looked up America's, report, so to speak?
Yeah, there's a lot of astrologers that are doing all kinds of countries, including the US, to look where US is as a country, as energetically. And one thing that we are currently experiencing in the US is what we call a Pluto return, which is happening once every 250 years, basically, when it's 200. Like, Pluto takes 273 years to go around the circle and of the astrological wheel. And what we're going through now, the time is the first time since the inception of the US, which means that Pluto has gone a whole circle around the wheel, astrological wheel, and coming back to the position where Pluto was at the inception of this country. So that and that is a significant time point that it's quite easy to spot in an astrology chart. But it's much more multi-layered than that. But there's a couple of things. Neptune is also very active in the US chart, which is indicative of a spiritual awakening. But there are tons of astrologers that have it's not my specific area of interest to do countries or evolutionary astrology at country level, but there are tons of astrologers that have analyzed this. But yeah. So I know European Union also has some interesting alignments currently as well, being activated. So, it's the funny thing is that you can look into energetic shifts for anyone or anything because we're part of it all. So the rotation of planets, it's connected to the all, right? And we are connected to the all. So we can look at interactions like our spouse or our mother or father, like they're always combinations. If we're curious about a relationship, for example, we can look at two people's astrology chart and see what's going on in terms of energetics between people. So that's the same thing, like a country versus another country, and you can take a look at the dynamics. That's often what makes the insights from astrology so powerful, because at the end of the day, it's connected to it all. So, and we can see our role in it in an energetic way. Does that help, Jessica?
Yes.
But the Pluto return is one example that is very significant for this time. But Pluto is also very slow moving, so it's a long, what we call a long transit. But there are activations such as when the sun is passing that point, for example, or Mars, who's making about a 2-year, 1.5 to 2 year circle around. That is often when Mars passes that point in the United States chart every 2 years. Let's say I'm generalizing a little bit here. That is always an activation of some sort. But when Pluto comes around one time in 276 years, that means something significant. Yeah.
Who's next? What does Pluto signify in the chat?
Pluto, the transformer, the Pluto is the most transformational energy that we know of so far. I mean, in galactic astrology, we actually work with, planets beyond Pluto, but Pluto is the one that is so far the slowest acknowledged planet that has been designated transformation as a archetypal energy. Yeah, I suspect there will be additional dwarf planets added the next 5-10 years to a traditional astrology chart with much different. For example, Haumea is a planet or dwarf planet beyond Pluto that has this archetypal energy of new Earth energy. So by tracking that planet, for example, we can take a look at where new Earth energy is going to influence. And so that's just an example. But Pluto, to answer the question, is archetypal energy of complete transformation. There's like no Pluto, you can't go back to what has been. So it's permanent transformation.
My dog is like, so sorry for being so loud. So anybody else? I'm not gonna take over. There's got to be questions because I have so many in my head spinning.
Hi, it's Melinda.
There you go, Melinda.
Hey, so I listened to the reading that you got, Ashley, and one thing that keeps kind of poking around in my head over and over again is basically how you would live so many lives, and this is kind of your reward life. That sounds so interesting to me. Because you've been on this planet and other planets too. So I was wondering if you could discuss that idea a little further, and how many other charts have you seen this insight?
I love this question because it comes back to our soul contract. So for Ashley's life, in this life, she is often we talk about soul contract is also what karma is. an energy balance. So in some lives, we have rewards coming in. In some lives, we are having a little bit of a different energy balance, right? So it basically how we transition between lives are basically an energy balance. So this life for Ashley is one of rewards, which she's her soul contract that she took on indicates that she's going to receive a lot more than give out, so to say, in terms of energy, and however that looks like in this life. But simply put, in some lives, we take on more karma, which can also be both of positive or negative energy charge, right? And in some lives, we don't take on as much karma. So we, in that lower proportion, karma can be positive or negatively charged. And we're talking about energy here. So it's not a judgment in that. It's like ones and zeros. Either we're on or off, or, you know, the flip of a switch, that the charge of energy is either on or off. But a reward life, we have to kind of think much, much bigger than what we believe are rewards as a human. So for her, for example, it could be a life where she has, where she's experiencing self-love, for example. That could be a reward life for somebody, right? Or receiving a love from an animal, or receiving love from other people, or you know, the imagination is immense as far as what a reward life could be. But I often comes to, what I see in many, many charts and readings is that many of us here on earth right now are here to experience an increase of self-love, connection with our inner child, and feeling that self-sourcing loop within of love. Because for so long, we have been looking for love from external sources. And there's a lesson here for many, many souls of self-sufficiency, self-sovereignty in that sense. So that's just an example. How self-empowerment is a big thing at this time, because we, yeah, can talk a lot about that. Does that help as far as describing an example of what a reward life could be? It's an energetic receiving and energetics. Like a lot of times we talk about yin and yang. Some of you might be familiar with that. So a reward life is more yin, right? More calm, more introspective, self-love, fulfilled from within. Do you resonate with this, Ashley?
Yes, I do.
While in other lives, we may have had sacrifice that self-love or consideration of inner child over external pressures. Maybe we've had a lot of responsibilities in other lives where we have to sacrifice our inner fulfillment. And yeah, so I hope that helps too.
We're coming to the end.
Simple explanations to it.
Anybody want to ask any amazing questions? No. When I had my reading, she came up with a date that said you will be in a specific date. Remember that?
It was really amazing. It's yeah, I remember.
How do you remember all that?
Oh, I don't I don't remember the actual date.
No, it was in January. I don't either, but I have it written down.
I think 2026 of some.
I think you're right. Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah, and it's sometimes it could be pretty specific, and sometimes it's not. But clearly that stood out
because she sees it in her. Well, it's intuition, but she sees it in the way my planets are. Right?
Yes, and you know, we only receive as much as we ought to know at this time, right? So what I picked up was that you will be part of, especially specifically communicating around an event. I think it was even in Europe or
Yeah.
something that's going
Uh-huh.
to be
Gosh.
important, right? And you're going to be it's going to be key for you in yeah. And it's not always I pick up specifics like that, but I did with you. So it's got to have to be some huge thing, but what that means for you, you can't miss it.
And the other thing I remember is coming from I'm an angel. How do you explain that? Like everyone has a different like hair, like where they came from, right? Is that how you?
Yes, in terms of soul origin.
Yes, soul origin.
Yeah.
Can
So
you
soul
explain that?
origin, and again, the most important part of all of this and my work is that just because I say it, it doesn't mean it's truth. You know, when it clicks, when something clicks within you, and you know it's your truth, that's when it's of value for you. But there's a reason for somebody coming to me, because maybe it's the way I say it or the way it comes through for me that is just rightly, divinely timed, right? But that's what we need to often learn, is to trust our own inner compass, our own inner guiding system that tells us, oh, this is a truth for me. Because everything in the world, we can't take it as moving forward. We're talking about, 2024 and coming years. Everything that we see, the reality that we see, we're going to be asked to not take it literally, because everything is either not truth or it's not truth for us. So, yeah, I think that's the most important piece to remember, that in any of the readings that you receive from me or from anyone else, what you feel is truth for you is really what matters.
Right. Mish had a question in the chat. Will you explain that, Mish? I don't know what that means.
She was talking about the yin and the yang, or like the giving and receiving. Because in my early life, I was receiving, and now I seem to be giving more. So I just wanted to know, is that possible to have both in one lifetime?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Shucks. I want to go back. I want to go back to where I was receiving.
Yeah. Yeah, each soul contract is different. We can't compare our journey to somebody else's journey. And
Now, I had
yeah,
another question about purpose in life. Because I found my purpose in life early on, and I knew because I just had total peace with it, with that decision. But now I'm tired. I want something else. Is it possible to have more than one purpose in life?
absolutely. Yes, it can
Oh,
evolve, it can
yay!
grow. And you, I mean, we're not the same person yesterday as we are today, right?
Yeah,
So
because I
yeah.
still love what I do, but I'm tired too.
Mm-hmm.
I'd
And
like
it's
other
that
things too.
tiredness likely that is a sign for you, like, okay, maybe it
It's
can be something
time.
good,
It's
right?
yeah,
It's time to
good one.
shift.
Time
Yeah,
to look at what's around.
yeah,
Thank
follow
you.
that inner compass for sure. I think once we receive that reassurance, we can also feel more empowered to take action or move in a certain direction or hold back or take a step forward that we may have been thinking about for the past 5 years to do. So often it's an acceleration or clarity comes in, like both Kate and Susan described. And yeah, we want to open up the lid to our bigger self. because we all put ourselves in a too small of a box sometimes, and there's more. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We're at the end. Thank you for went a little bit over, but I appreciate everybody. If anybody wanted to, having closing words, speak now or forever hold your peace. Thank you so much. That was so great. And you know what? Why don't you explain to everybody how they can find you, how they can reach out to you, all that stuff.
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me again and for everyone's absolutely brilliant questions. Thank you. And if you're curious and want to learn more about my work, visit me on ulrikasullivan.com. Everything is there. I have also a YouTube channel where I read every new moon and full moon and have guests as well. And I invite you to visit me there on YouTube. It's my name. So you'll find me easily. So thank you. It's beautiful. What a beautiful group. You awesome. All of you. Beautiful energy in this room. Thank you, Ashley.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so fun. I loved it. Oh, thank you, everybody, for staying with us. And anybody last words of before we leave? We will be meeting the first Monday of February, and Kate has offered to be the guest for that week or that month. So Kate, why don't you talk about what you're going to talk about? We'll end on that.
I'm not going to talk too much, but I'm just going to channel for you all. So come with your questions. My gifts that kind of came through for me is I guess people call it trance channel, but I'm kind of conscious and have the ability to kind of tune into your specific frequency, soul team, higher self, or channel, like I say, my collective consciousness that exists otherwise, that kind of bring clarity to people's kind of human questions. So yeah, so it should be fun. I don't do this too publicly, just more on a private basis right now. So Ashley's trying to like get me to get my feet a little bit more wet.
Yes. When I talk to her, it's like, I've met her just like I've met most of you. So it's amazing. And I'm so very grateful. And when I met her for coffee one day, she wanted to come and show me her painting from Joe. And we went to Starbucks because we live in San Diego. So that was amazing. And all of a sudden I'm just sitting there thinking we're just going to talk about, the life and things that we've, learned along the way. And she just like tells me her story of her awakening and how she met me, how she found me. And I'm like, what? I didn't expect that. So it's evolved into now she's helped me with this retreat. That's in 2 weeks. And I know through my automatic writing, I've told her this the other day that she's come through, like it's a connection. I look at every one of you and I know we're all soul connected. I just know it. Like, I mean, can you say that, Eureka? Like it's all a soul
Absolutely.
family, right?
Yes.
Like totally.
Yes.
Like in fact, I look back and hi, Veronica. I know you came in late, but I wanted to say hi because I just love you so much. But like when I look out at who I connect with and who, and Sonia, I don't even think I've said hi to you, but I've been looking at you. But these people that I love, like they're all my soul family. And when I met Kate and she explains to me her story, and I'm just like, I thought we were just having coffee. I didn't know this whole thing, so it erupted in her. Like it, and I know you know her. But I just, when you realize these things, I've been interviewing these people that it's been like with Aaron, and it's like erupting these awakenings are just like, we're going to be seeing that so much. Don't you think? Like, I mean, I've been witnessing it so much with these people that I've been interviewing, where it's just like 3 years ago, I did this, or 2 years ago, all of a sudden, it's just like everything's opened up and I see the life in a whole different way. I'm asking you that, somebody, Ulrika?
Absolutely. It's a very much soul family connection time, because we will need each other as we go through the next couple of years. And there's a purpose behind that, that we know who we connect with, and because structures and things that we may not resonate with anymore, we're just making new connections for a reason. And I think it's all good, because I've also sensed the same thing, that a lot of groups getting together, circles and things like that, and it feels very natural. And if we think back like 5-10 years ago, who did that? Nobody.
No,
So
exactly.
so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. All right. I love each and every one of you. I mean, I do. I feel like so connected to everyone. It's so amazing. And until next month, or until you send me if I don't already text you like a maniac to go down my rabbit holes, please do. And I will send you all my people that it's like every time, and I'm speaking to people that are here that know that, but when I find somebody and I'm like, oh my gosh, or even when you all send me something that opens my eyes, I just realize like we're all in this game, we're playing this game together, like when you realize we're in a game and this is just a dream, and we're just all like, I'm you, you're me, we're all each other, and we're just trying to go, like I don't have the video, I don't have boys, and my kids never played video games. So my reference of video games is like Pac-Man or like Pong or like all those little like back in the 70s games. But when I think of those games, and because people, when I do interview people and they say, we're the avatar and we're this game, and they name the games and I don't know any of the names, but they explain, like how you build the levels, right? But we're all like, we're building this level, we're building it together. And when you know that, and there's no hierarchy or whatever, and like we're all like doing this, is so fun, and that's why we're here, to have fun anyway. So we take life too seriously. I don't think the people on the Zoom do, but when you realize that we're here to have fun and know what feel like, when we were listening to today, like when we find what really resonates with us and we know that feeling of, oh, this feels so good. I mean, I'm looking at Lisa, when you found breath work, like that resonated with you, like that is fun for you, like all the things that you do, that you find this, like I love my podcast. I love helping kids. Like that fuels my soul. And I know that's what I'm supposed to do. I don't care if one person came across my path or one, it's just like, but when you realize that it's fueling you, oh, there's nothing better. And we're just living in a game. We're in a video game. Like, and we should treat it that way. We should treat it like this is just fun. It's not serious. Like wake up in the morning and say, oh my gosh, this is so fun. How many more levels can I get up? And what can I do to get there? Like raising your vibration, getting higher, connecting more. I mean, this year is connection for me. And this is the beginning of that. And I feel so, it just levels me up. It takes me, like meeting for coffee locally, like having lunch with Kate, being closer, having the retreat, like being together, raising up your excitement of life. I mean, this is like so short, we're only in this suit, you know, for this long. Like, let's have fun. Like, there's no limits. We're always given everything we need whenever we need it. There's never a limit. And when we limit ourselves, it's, you know, we're putting this like block. And I feel like once you just know that it's like we're all in this together and we're all just here to have fun, then the sky's the limit. There's no limit. There's not even the sky the limit. Anyway, that's my 6:30 time, and I know East Coast team people are 9:30, and I'll be asleep by then. So I appreciate everyone staying up so late on the East Coast. Anybody? That's it. Good night.
Just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ulrika, too.
Wonderful. Thank you.
That was so fun.
Ulrika,
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
I close.